Dalton, not only was that an amazing result in Tennessee, we have another team in Tennessee going down. Eli's Volunteers losing to Arkansas, 19-14. Number 4 Tennessee loses to unranked Arkansas. Before we get to the grades and stats and who impresses the most, Eli, what do you got to say for yourself right now, man?
Well, I have to say that I'm sorry to the Tennessee faithful. I'm a loser, and I think I've tarnished Tennessee. So that sucked. Obviously, a bad game from Nico. I wouldn't say that the defense played well. You finally saw James Pierce kind of emerge. I just think they got behind, couldn't get Nico in a rhythm, and then just bad clock management at the end of the game. Don't know what some of the timeouts were, but you got to tip your hat to Arkansas. They played a hell of a game. I can't even think of Arkansas's quarterback name right now. Taylor Green, absolutely balled. A crazy game from him. Showed up when it mattered. So hopefully, some people forget I have Ashton Genty plus 7,500 to win the Heisman. So that's what we're hanging our hat on this week.
He's still living.
Well, props to he mentioned Taylor Green, but props to Malachi Singleton coming in and finishing that game and scoring the winning touchdown. And Green was spectacular. The 2 throws that he made right before he came out of the game were just tremendous. And Singleton going in there, look, in a spot like that where you're trying to pull a huge upset, that's hard for a backup to go in there and do that.
Yeah.
And for him to just keep his cool and at the very least not screw it up. That's sometimes that's all that matters.
Against that defense?
Against that defense.
It's very easy to screw up against that defense.
Yeah, which, it's likely the biggest win Arkansas is going to have all year in the biggest game of their season. That's an incredible showing from both of their quarterbacks, I thought.
Yeah, let's get into the grades from this game, starting off with the Arkansas Razorbacks. The highest grade player is actually Taylor Green at 82.9, Andrew Armstrong at an 81.7, Steven Dix Jr. at a 79, Landon Jackson at 77.9, Larry Worth at a 72.8, and Marquise Robinson at a 70.6. Going over to the Tennessee side of the ball, like Eli said, James Pierce Jr., maybe his best game of the season so far. At a 76.6 grade to lead all Volunteers. Andres Karich had a 73.6 grade. Amari Thomas at a 73. Keenan Pili at a 72.8. Dylan Sampson at a 72.3. And then Nico Iamaleava, 53.6 grade in this one. Dalton, for you, what was the stat that told the story in this massive top 5 upset?
So I actually think it's an incredibly similar thing to Vandy winning their game, and it wasn't as high scoring, but the idea was for Arkansas, don't give Tennessee very many chances, don't let them speed up the game with their tempo, and don't let Nico get in a rhythm, right? And Arkansas held the ball in this game for 35 minutes and 29 seconds, still a very big advantage, not as much as Vanderbilt had over Bama, but a very big advantage, and they were actually pacing not too far from that in the first 3 quarters, which was mainly when Taylor Green was in there. They had the ball for almost 28 of the first 45 minutes. It was the same plan. Get in our wheelhouse, run the ball, stop the run, slow this game down. Don't let Tennessee play at the fast pace that they want to play at. And they've kind of been struggling to get to the last few weeks anyway. No turnovers for Arkansas, even when the backup quarterback came in. When Taylor Green was in the game, and you take out the kneel down at the end of the first half, 7 drives with Green in there, 6 of them had at least 7 plays. They did the same thing Vanderbilt did at an even slower pace with less scoring. Run the football, burn the clock, punt the ball, don't screw it up. Tennessee, kind of the last couple weeks, not firing on all cylinders offensively. Taylor Green made enough throws. Malachi Singleton made enough plays at the end of the game, and their defense came through and for them. This was one where it was a similar style, but Arkansas wanted to win this game on defense, ran the ball, stop the run, take Tennessee out of their tempo, and eventually just come away with just enough points to win it.
Yeah. It really was a shocking result. And Dawn, we got to talk about Nico Iamaleava. 4 for 14 on 10-plus yard throws in this game. His adjusted completion rate on 10-plus yard throws was 35.7%. If you don't know, adjusted completion rate is just your completion percentage plus any drops your receivers have. So it's got to be a lot higher than that. 35.7% on that. He entered the week with a 51.7% adjusted completion rate on 10-plus yard throws. It was really solid, but 35.7 in this one. Tennessee in this game had negative .141 EPA per pass. That was their 3rd game where they're negative in EPA per pass. And the only 2 games they were positive this year, Dalton, were against Chattanooga and Kent State. Their 3 games against Power 4 teams have been negative in EPA per pass this year. Right now, Nico Iamaleava has a 64.5 grade. This Tennessee offense is so predicated on deep throws, and Arkansas is like, we're not going to give you them. You're going to have to beat us underneath and in the intermediate range, and he couldn't do it, honestly. And he looked uncomfortable, honestly. And I think in that last drive especially, I know he had that massive throw to get him down the red zone. But even like the last play of the game, he ran to try to get a 25-yard touchdown on the last play instead of just throwing into the end zone. He looked uncomfortable back there. And listen, they've been killing teams, so we haven't had to talk about it yet. But like you and I have been like watching him. We're like, okay, this is like looking under the hood. It's not great football from Nico right now.
They didn't kill Oklahoma either. It felt like obviously their defense dominated because Oklahoma just can't score right now. It's not like they killed Oklahoma. This is kind of a similar game as they played in that game, and Arkansas just executed their plan better than Oklahoma did.
I love Nico and his potential and all that, but he hasn't played great this year. And I know he was like top 8 in Heisman odds going into the week, which I never really understood either, just looking at how he played. But yeah, there's a lot to work on right now. And I know under pressure, he's one of the worst quarterbacks in the country as well. So there's a lot to work on with Nico right now. I really am still buying the hype on him, and I think he will be a really good quarterback down the road, but he's not a great quarterback right now, and then Tennessee needs him to be.
There's 3 things in this offense. Look, it's generally an explosive offense, and it's one that's a lot of fun to watch, but there's 3 things in it. Run game, screens, deep shots. And when that third one's not working and you're working in this bubble, you could see it even at the end with Arkansas's coverage. They were dropping 8. They were dropping 3 deep, 8 total in coverage. They were going to make Nico throw the ball 10 yards at a time. Now, he hit the 1 home run ball, improvising that one. It was a great throw, all of that, like you mentioned, but they were going to make him throw in a bubble. And right now, his accuracy is not on a level to throw within that bubble. And honestly, there's not a lot of concepts in the Tennessee offense that are in that 15-yard bubble. It's the one thing in Josh Heupel's offense that they don't really do. They don't get in that kind of West Coast offense schemes and throwing the ball 8 to 10 yards and throwing it at the sticks. They want chunk plays in the passing game. And if you either if you take that away, or if your quarterback isn't hitting downfield, you have problems because they're running the ball well. They've been running the ball well with Dylan Sampson pretty much every week. And in this game, that was a little bit inconsistent because Arkansas, that's a good run defense.
Yep.
It's probably pretty easily the best part of their team, right? So now you've got a team that's sitting back, don't give up deep shots, and they're keeping themselves in the game because all they have to do at that point is make tackles on screens in open space, and they did that last night, and they're successful. So I think Arkansas, again, same as Vandy, they got this game down to their pace, and they challenged Iamaleava to make throws that aren't just home run balls.
Yep.
And he only hit the one late in the game that almost got him back into it. But even then, they get down to the 20, and now you're throwing in the 20-yard bubble, and there really wasn't anything Tennessee was calling. That was because they still had timeouts. You could go 6-7 yards at a time, but they just don't do that. It's the one flaw in this offense is that scenario right there, is when it's, okay, what happens when a team does take away the deep shots? We've seen this in the past, even when they've played Georgia and teams that are elite at not allowing explosive plays. Okay, what else do you have?
Yeah.
And you know, it's just, I think, wasn't it against Georgia last year? They scored on the first play of the game and then they got shut out the rest of the way. I mean, this is what happens. You take away the explosives, and all of a sudden, it's just not as hard.
And I hope people don't take this as us not liking Nico. We both do. I think it's more about the Tennessee offense.
He's wicked talented, and he's a perfect fit for this offense, but he's got to hit the throws, and they have to set it up better.
Yeah.
Honestly, and they have a loaded receiving core. They're to just go out there and to not have a little bit more in their passing game is a detriment.
Yeah, it's like, so when we're talking about, they're not doing well in the short and intermediate, it's like, well, they're also not designed to do that. So then when you're not designed to do that, you better be hitting your 10-plus yard throws, and he was 4 for 14 in this game. So that's why, again, under the hood, Nico, there's been issues with him. I still have faith in him long-term, like I said, but yeah, there's some issues they got to clean up right now for sure, which is why they ended up losing this game, only scoring 14 points against Arkansas. But Dalton, what for you was the most impressive part of this Arkansas upset?
I'm actually going to take the Arkansas run defense, and we know Tennessee's been running wild on teams, and you know, on the surface, it looks like, oh, Tennessee had a lot of yards and this and that. But other than one Dylan Sampson carry that went for 53 yards, Arkansas was fine in run defense. He had a 79.9 team run defense grade. You take out that carry, Tennessee's other 25 design carries only went for 108 yards. 15 stops in run defense, only 2 missed tackles, only 6 first downs allowed. And I mean, look, Landon Jackson and Steven Dix and those guys up front, they were really good for most of the night. Is it a lights out performance where they only gave up 30 rushing yards? No, but you're not going to get that. Kind of something I mentioned like with Colorado and UCF, right? If Tennessee's running for 300 plus a game and you held them on their design carries to $160, that's a win. Now they have to make up those yards elsewhere, and they couldn't do it. So I thought Arkansas's front seven, their run defense deserves a lot of credit for just staying tough in this game and playing their part. Again, Arkansas wanted to run and stop the run and control the clock, and they did those things.
Absolutely. And, heading into our preview, when we previewed every single Power 4 team, our biggest strength for Arkansas was like, yeah, this front seven is really good against the run. And they did exactly that. And like you said, if you stop Dylan Sampson and you make Nico hit the throws downfield, you're in a good spot there. And if you take away those deep throws and all of a sudden you stop the run too, then all of a sudden Tennessee doesn't know what they're doing offensively, which is I think what you saw a little bit yesterday. My most impressive part was Taylon Green, because while Nico struggled, he really did thrive in this one. 91.8 passing grade, 4 big-time throws, 0 turnover-worthy plays, 19 for 27 for 266 yards with an 87.5% adjusted completion rate. Dalton, this is the third game this year with an 80-plus passing grade for Taylon Green. He had 4 in his entire career before this season. And with Arkansas, you mentioned they want to run and stop the run. Arkansas averaged 3.4 yards per carry in this game. So they needed Taylon Green to deliver as a passer, and he did with 4 big-time throws and no turnover-worthy plays. So Taylon Green, I understand they only put up 19 points. It wasn't like it was an explosion from the Arkansas offense by any means. But 19 points against this Tennessee defense is actually pretty good. And I was really impressed by him. And the fact that Arkansas really didn't have a ground game at all to rely on, and Taylon Green performed for them like that, I thought, besides the Arkansas defense really stepping up, I thought he was the biggest reason for their success yesterday.
Yeah, and you know what you're seeing this year is there was a lot of highs and lows at Boise State when he was out there. You're getting a lot less of the lows now. I think Bobby Petrino's doing a really good job with him and his ball security. We saw some slip-ups late in the Oklahoma State game. That was part of the reason Oklahoma State got back in the game, but Green's making less mistakes than he used to, and it's really impressive.